I'm Mike Le Couteur, and this is the West Block, politics, perspectives, and players. The We Charity controversy is back in the headlines this week. Ethics Commissioner Mario Dion ruled Prime Minister Justin Trudeau did not violate any ethics rules when it came to his involvement in awarding We Charity the now cancelled Canada Student Service Grant. However, the Ethics Commissioner said former Finance Minister Bill Morneau did breach a number of sections of the Conflict of Interest Act. Joining me now for more on this is NDP Leader Jagmeet Singh. Thanks for being here. Last week, the Ethics Commissioner, Mario Dion, issued his report into the We Charity controversy, and he cleared Prime Minister Justin Trudeau of any wrongdoing, even though the Prime Minister himself said that he should have recused himself from the file. So, in your mind, did the Ethics Commissioner get it wrong here?
Well, the Ethics Commissioner stated that there was a breach of ethics, and Cabinet signed off on this decision. And so really, it is an indictment of the Liberal government. But more importantly, I'm less concerned about the actual findings in terms of whether the Prime Minister or whether it's the entire Liberal government, and more the outcome. The outcome of this is the Liberals tried to help out their friends, closely tied, that's clear, and the result is it hurt students. At the end of the day, the decision of the Liberals directly meant students did not get the help that they needed. And it really showed that the Liberals never intended to really help students. Instead, their goal was to just help their friends out, because they've yet to actually deliver the $1 billion they earmarked for students who are hurting right now, who are struggling right now.
And I understand that's a concern for you, but I'm asking you specifically on the decision around Mr. Trudeau. Mr. Trudeau himself, before this report was submitted, had said that he should have recused himself. Now, it did find something on former Finance Minister Bill Morneau, but specifically on Mr. Trudeau. A, do you think that Mr. Dion got it wrong? And and B, I should say, do you think that the rules on this for ethics violations are too lax?
Well, that is what the Ethics Commissioner did say. He pointed to the fact that the rules, he specifically cited the rules didn't allow for him, given the context of the rules, to make a finding against the Prime Minister in this particular case. But really, I mean, whether it's a Prime Minister or the Finance Minister, the Prime Minister is responsible at the end of the day. The Prime Minister is the one that calls the shots at the end of the day. And the Cabinet signed off on this decision.
Now, in the last budget, they tried to help young people. They're trying to make up for that, it seems. And I wanted to ask you about the budget negotiations. You continually say you don't want to plunge this country into a federal election. It sounds like you're playing your cards right now, and you're not really going to have that much leverage in any kind of negotiations that you're going to try and improve the budget bill or improve services for Canadians. What do you say to somebody who says, you've already played your cards? How do you expect to get any more out of the Liberals if you've already told them you're not going to force them to fall as a government?
Well, we can point to our track record over this pandemic. We're the only opposition party that fought for and won help for Canadians. We doubled CERB. We were able to get help to students. We brought in paid sick leave. We were able to increase the wage subsidy. These are all things that New Democrats achieved, probably the most significant victories that any opposition party has won for Canadians in a generation. And we did that through each legislation. There's a budget, of course, but for any specific action to happen, they're going to need to pass legislation. And that's where we've used our ability to negotiate to fight for more help for people. If the Liberals want to get things done, like childcare, if they're actually meaning it, then we are here to make sure that happens and make sure it truly happens to help people. If the Liberals want to do things that they campaigned on, like pharmacare, that it seems that they've walked away from, we're here to make that happen. We are committed to getting things done for people, and have shown that we've been able to achieve that. And we haven't required making this going into an election to make that happen. We have done that through each legislation that is passed and making sure it actually works to help people.
Now, we don't know if we're going to have an election, and a lot of people say that won't happen until enough people have vaccines. The Prime Minister last week was talking about a 1-dose summer, a 2-dose fall. What specifically do you think that the federal government needs to do to try and accelerate our transition out of this third wave, get us back on the right track? And do you think that their messaging has been off in terms of trying to get enough vaccines out there to everybody, especially when you consider it's a buzzword? It's 1-dose, summer, 2-dose fall. What specifically, do you think that they need to do to make sure that we get there?
Well, I don't take any pleasure in these type of criticism, because I want the vaccine rollout to work, and I want people to get vaccinated, and I want people to have confidence in the vaccine. So I say this sadly, I say this with regret, but the Liberal government has failed when it comes specifically to procurement. We're one of the world's largest economies, yet our procurement has been a failure. Specifically, Canada and the Liberal government has failed in establishing the capacity to produce the vaccine locally. And the UK was in the exact same position as Canada a year ago. They retooled, they made the right investments and are able to produce the vaccine locally, and now have vaccinated their population and are far ahead of us. So those are two major failures. The other thing that we know is that paid sick leave is a very effective tool to stop the spread of COVID-19. And we have, I mentioned that New Democrats fought to bring it in, but the Liberals failed to address three key problems. It's not flexible enough, doesn't cover a full day's pay, and it's too slow to access. These are three fixes that the Liberals could do right now, and it would save lives and help stop the spread of COVID-19 and help us get past this third wave and get us to a point where we're safe again. And then finally, making sure we have an all hands on deck approach to get everyone vaccinated. We need to see the people that are most at risk getting the vaccine, which has not been the case. The most vulnerable communities are often those that have the least vaccination. So those are some of the key priorities that I would focus on.
Mr. Singh, we appreciate your time today. Unfortunately, we're up against the clock, but thanks for being here again.
Thank you so much. A pleasure to be here.